Here's what I would say stands out as the headlines from 49er practice today. Brock Purdy was very good. Sam Darnold got, I think, 3 to 4 times as many reps as Trey Lance did, but did not do well with them. Sam Darnold went 1 for 7, but had, I think, 13 reps. Trey Lance maybe only had like 4 or 5, although completed all of his passes. So there's your information from practice today. But Mike Silver wrote a fantastic article in the San Francisco Chronicle about why this conversation has the tone that it does. Forget for a minute Brock Purdy starting, who's QB2, whatever. And instead, let's focus on why the conversation sounds like it does. Tense, people taking sides, labels of you're a Brock guy or a Trey guy or a Sam guy or a Trey girl or a Brock girl or a Sam girl. Okay? Why is it like that? And I've stated everything I want to state in terms of I hate the fact that those labels even exist. I don't want Brock people and Trey people. I'm a 49er fan, and I want production out of that position, whoever it may be. But here's a question I have for anybody who considers themselves a quote-unquote Trey fan. How did you get there? What is it that you saw? What happened and when did you become a massive Trey Lance fan? That is not to say that Trey is good, bad, or otherwise, because most of the people who are on that side of the fence, if you will say, well, he hasn't even been given a chance. Well, if he hasn't even been given a chance, what is it you fell in love with? My life as a sports fan, you fall in love with production.
Winning.
You fall in love with a person that comes in and does really good things, and you go, oh, that person's a really good player. That's our player. I'm now a fan. Patrick Bailey has done that for me over the last 6 to 8 weeks. Oh, that looks good. I'm now a Patrick Bailey fan because there's production involved there. I would love to know where this comes from, this allegiance to a player who hasn't played football. You can be mad that he hasn't played. That I get. The excitement of wanting to see a player play. But the fandom, the pom-poms, the jerseys, the Trey area signs, the vitriol that seems to come from a place of knowing that this person is great. Where did that come from?
It came from being the number 3 pick in that 2021 draft. It came from the 49ers announcing that they had traded their first-round picks for the next 2 years, plus their first-round pick in the swap for 2000, to move up to number 3, because they were going to get a state-of-the-art quarterback. They were going to get a quarterback that could run. They were going to get a quarterback that had arm strength to throw the deep ball, and they were going to get a quarterback that was the he was going to look like the Mahomes and the Allens and the Justin Herberts in terms of physical tools and ability. High-end, top-flight talent on a team that was built really in every other way to contend for a championship. It was the notion that Trey Lance was going to put the 49ers over the top because that was the one thing that they didn't have in their championship goal.
Totally get it. All of those things are a concept. They're all an idea. So how 3 years later are there so many people who have decided they know exactly what this person is going to be, should be, looks like? The fandom is intense in some spots. And I don't know if I've ever seen that before for a player who hasn't played. And if you're completely honest with yourselves, when he has played, it has not looked good. If this were, and I'm so glad that it's not, if this were the East Coast, my God, this would sound so different. There is so much, there's a portion of the fan base that's blind loyalty is actually blinding, like the sun. It is so intense, the thought of how much love is out there for Trey Lance, And on the human side, I dig that. I love it when people get supported. And Trey, as a person, has earned all of that. But this is sports. And I don't know that I've ever seen this before where so many people are so attached to a person who has produced next to nothing in terms of winning and losing.
I do think part of it is the fact that, and you mentioned this, but I think we disagree a little bit on this particular part of it. It's the fact that the true Trey believers or the Trey fans don't think that they've seen him fail yet.
Actually, and that's fair to a degree.
He really hasn't gone on the field in games and failed. He had some moments against the Bears, had some bad moments against the Bears, fine. Had some moments against the Texans when he played.
It's been mid.
It's been, well, yeah, he started 4 games, and he's done some good things, he's done some bad things. I don't think he's been a disaster in any of the 4 games.
I don't either.
He hasn't been great necessarily in any of the 4 games. They've won 2, they've lost 2. Like, all of that. So I think there's this notion of, well, wait a minute, everybody's moving on already, and he hasn't actually gotten the opportunity to go on the field and fail to where, even if he had played half the year last year and went 3-5 and been bad, and Kyle Shanahan had to go back to Jimmy Garoppolo to finish that season due to ineffectiveness, I think there would be more of a, well, at least we saw him go out there and struggle. I think that's why people are still hanging on to it, because they haven't seen it yet.
That I find fair. I get that. I think that's fair. If you're disappointed because you feel like you were pitched a bill of goods and then you just never even got to try the goods, right? You bought a trip and the plane never left.
Yeah, some people refuse to believe that he's bad because they actually haven't seen him be bad.
And that's fair. I get that part of it. But if I use that analogy, right, you bought a trip and the plane never left, a lot of you sound like the trip was already good. You never even went on it. So how are you so sure? How can the fandom normally, as I said, fandom comes from production. Fandom comes from things actually happening. Everybody in this city was kind of like, Andrew Wiggins, huh? All right, we played jazz music, K-Wig, and we, he's in, and then pop, and they win a title, and he's an absolute dog, and everyone went, I'm a fan of that dude. But you waited. You waited until you saw it before your hook was in the mouth and you were all in. You wait until you see it. But that has not happened here, and that's the dynamic that I don't really get. And JD, would you agree with me on this? By and large, I'm going to paint a little bit broadly here.
All right.
But by and large, the person who's mad about Trey Lance, the person who's mad and thinks he hasn't been given a chance, is also the person that often criticizes Kyle Shanahan and calls him an idiot for his quarterback evaluations.
Yeah, generally I would say that's true.
All right, if that is true, then how are you so sure that Trey Lance is going to be good? Because the only thing you know about him is that Kyle Shanahan evaluated him to be good.
Well, it's also, I think, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday, it's that notion of, Kyle, why can't you do it with him? Kyle, if you're so smart, why can't you do it with him? If you can make Jimmy Garoppolo playable, passable, winnable, if you can make Brock Purdy better than that, why can't you make the state-of-the-art in terms of physical traits quarterback? Why can't you make him great?
Well, but I mean, are people under the impression that he can do that with any human being or any quarterback on the planet?
But let's be honest. At times, he's been spoken of that way.
I don't know about anybody. Yes, I think people make the comment. The comment is hyperbole.
Yeah, at times.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I think a lot of people are living in that world, though.
But it's like C.J. Beathard and Nick Mullins are not stars.
True.
You would not give them the keys to a franchise in the NFL.
They weren't the 3rd pick in the draft.
No, either. But C.J. Beathard was a 3rd rounder. He wasn't a no one. He wasn't Mr. Irrelevant. You know what I mean? And if you we're not under that impression, right? That Kyle Shanahan can snap his fingers and anybody who can throw a football can suddenly become a viable starter in the NFL.
I'm not. I'll speak for myself on that.
I don't think that exists.
I think there's a belief, and I think you even said this at one point, hey, any quarterback's going to be a better version of themselves.
Better version of himself.
Than,
which is actually, for me, the scariest part about Trey Lance and why I wonder about his trade value.
I think there's also something to it, and I don't want to get off on a Giants tangent, but it's
why not?
Like the Giants are much more comfortable with the middling players, right? They're much more comfortable finding them.
That's true.
Playing them, cutting them, moving off of that. Like they've had a lot of success and some failure because the failures don't hurt as much with middling type players as they do. There's something to, can Kyle handle a star level talent? Like I feel like the Giants have in some ways shied away, balked, whatever.
Do you mean as a head coach or as a play caller?
Just as a developer.
Because I mean,
he was the
play caller for Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, and Matt Ryan won the MVP.
Yeah, I get it.
You know what I mean?
No, I get that. I think it's more of like Matt Ryan didn't have to be developed at that point.
True, yeah.
Julio Jones was already a star.
He was improved.
You know, he became the MVP. He got better. But so I think that's where it's like there's something in the development. Like Kyle needs almost a specific type of quarterback, or a quarterback with a specific skill set to be able to maximize.